Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up in our news tonight, a pledge of transparency as Prime Minister Davis receives his instrument of appointment. Former Prime Ministers and MPs congratulate Prime Minister Davis on his win. A new Deputy Prime Minister is sworn in as he takes up his cabinet portfolio. And the Bahamas is downgraded by Moody's. Plus, why healthcare workers on Grand Bahamas say they are struggling. Welcome to our News Weekend and thanks for joining us. I'm Georgia Bain. It's Saturday, September 18th. Topping news tonight. Prime Minister Philip Davis receiving his instrument of appointment in a public ceremony at Bahama this morning, pledging greater transparency and better governance for all.
I am sure that my government can only succeed if we partner with the Bahamian people. We're going to listen. We're going to consult widely. And we're going to bring people together. This is the best way to make progress as a nation. No leader and no government should be isolated from the people. I also commit to lifting the veil of secrecy on that which has gone before us.
Davis was officially sworn in during a private ceremony on Friday morning. Speaking to the media for the first time as Prime Minister, Davis explained one of his first moves upon taking office is amending the nightly curfew to 11:59. He says that it seemed to be a no rhyme or reason for keeping the curfew at 9 p.m.
And have met already with Dr. Dal Regis, who's been leading the charge and the fight on the front line on this pandemic. On Monday, after the appointment of Minister of Health, we'll be quickly getting into the nuts and bolts of where we are, what we have to do, how to get it done to ensure that we get this pandemic under control. Curfews, on the face of it, from the medical information we have, is not a tool that is effective against the fight, but I am to get more information on that in the coming weeks, and we'll decide how that may move forward with curfews or not at all.
85 COVID-19 cases were reported yesterday, along with 2 additional COVID-19 related deaths. There were 156 people hospitalized and 19 patients are in the intensive care unit. Meanwhile, Moody's Investor Service downgraded the Bahamas' long-term issuer and senior unsecured ratings from a BA3 to BA2. The negative outlook was maintained just 1 day following the general election. The reason for the downgrade? According to Moody's, the downgrade reflects the significant erosion of the Bahamas' economic and fiscal strength brought on by the coronavirus pandemic. Economic recovery of the country is expected to be highly dependent on the tourism rebound. Moody's expects that will occur sometime in 2024, the earliest. Prime Minister Philip Davis says that the news of the downgrade underscores the severity of the fiscal crisis and the need to move swiftly to address it. However, he says that the downgrade is not surprising, although the timing of the downgrade seems questionable. The Andros Ballroom of the Bahama Resort was packed this morning as Governor General Sir Cornelius Smith congratulated Davis on his new appointment and spoke to a unified Bahamas.
We have one Bahamas. There is no FNM Bahamas. There is no TLT Bahamas. There is one Bahamas. And our responsibility now is to ensure that we become united so that one Bahamas we have, we can ensure that it becomes a better Bahamas.
Former Prime Minister Perry Christie says he is happy for Davis, who is more than capable of being Prime Minister. Christie says that there is something special about Davis's win.
One of the amazing historical features of this whole victory by Brave is that we have 3 prime ministers coming from the same law firm. I don't know if that will ever happen again, but it was fascinating for Hubert Ingram and I to be here to share this occasion with Brave Davis and the Progressive Liberal Party and obviously his family.
Now, Christie says that Davis has his work cut out for him.
I'm looking forward to a major initiative addressing COVID-19 and the economy of the Bahamas concurrently. Those are the two major features, two challenges that he has, and I believe after he has constituted his team, opened up with his cabinet, that he's going to address vigorously and comprehensively these two major items, which I think will bring the Bahamas to a point where we can move towards normalcy.
Former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram also attended the event. However, he declined an interview, noting that today was all about the new Prime Minister. 3 of the 4 living Prime Ministers of the Bahamas even posed for a photo together. The trio were once colleagues at a law firm, Christie, Ingram & Co., now known as Davis & Co. Meanwhile, former Tall Pines MP Leslie Miller says that it's a great day for the Bahamas, but also a sad day.
You know, this is a wonderful day for the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and in some respects, it's a sad day. People just downgraded yesterday, or a few weeks ago, which the former governing party was fully aware of, never informed the Bahamian people. We are now on the cliff of disaster financially, which means we're going to take all of the men with brains in our country and women to sit down in a room and steer us in the right direction to get out of this situation that we're in.
Miller vows to hold the government accountable despite his party preferences.
Whatever decision this government make must be for and on behalf of the Bahamian people. And I tell you, if it doesn't happen, they can hear from me loud and clear.
Chester Cooper became the first member of the Davis-led cabinet today as he was sworn in as Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism, Aviation and Investments.
These are trying times in our country, and we have found ourselves swept into power with a great majority. We will not forget that our predecessors had an even greater majority, yet they were rejected by the Bahamian people. We will learn from their examples. So in my role, I will be resolutely focused on creating an investment-friendly environment, attracting and mobilizing both domestic and foreign investments, growing our industries and our economy to create jobs and opportunities for our people.
The oath of allegiance and the oath of office were both administered by Governor General Sir Cornelius Smith. More cabinet appointments are expected next week. Prime Minister Davis says his team is ready.
I'm working on that now, and hopefully we should be able to complete them by Sunday with a swearing-in ceremony by Monday. We are ready to go, and I'm trying to get things because we do have these twin crises that we have to deal with.
Still to come on our news, weekend of nightclub fight on Grand Bahama turns deadly. Healthcare workers in Grand Bahama's COVID-19 unit speak up. Plus, former gaming board employees seek a resolution. That's coming up when our news weekend returns.
The Great True True Bahamian Treasure Hunt is here, where you can win great vacation prize packages to hotels throughout the Bahamas. Watch Our TV on weeknights between 6 and 11 p.m. for your 10 True True Bahamian clues. Take note of your answers and clues. You never know, you might see the same clue twice. Follow Our TV Originals on Facebook to submit your correct answers before 11 a.m. every Saturday. Watch Our News Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. to see if you are the weekly winner. If you didn't win, watch for clues next week because the contest runs all summer long. Go to Our TV Originals Facebook page for more information and contest details.
Well, 2 people were shot and 1 stabbed during an altercation in the nation's second city last night, leaving 1 man dead. Reports are that an altercation broke out at an establishment in the International Bazaar shortly after 11 Friday night. Police say shots were fired and the injured were rushed to Rand Memorial Hospital.
There's a group of young men involved in a large fight. and as a result, shots were fired. And at the end, it reported that 3 persons were shot and later transported to the Rand Memorial Hospital. Thus far, 1 person has succumbed to his injuries.
According to Roll, the other 2 men are receiving treatment for critical injuries.
The other 2 persons are said to be in critical condition, being attended to by doctor at present. The police are following some leads in this incident, and once they would have conducted an investigation, they'll be able to bring this matter to some closure.
It's a daily mental struggle for the Grand Bahama COVID-19 nurses, as they say that they feel anxious and uneasy constantly coming into contact with COVID-19 patients. However, they say that it's a fulfilling job to see patients recover. Our Jillian Gray has that.
From the beginning until now, because most staff wouldn't come here, we end up working double shifts just to cover and make sure to take the necessary precautions to take care of the guests that we have here.
From double shifts to wearing layers of PPEs in the sweltering heat, nurses at the COVID wing on Grand Bahama say it's been a challenging year.
Dealing with the conditions on the inside, our air conditioning isn't really working anyway, so it's hot as you walk inside. So to put these on, it's just pure plastic. And bear in mind, it's more than what you see, because we still have to wear another N95 over our face, along with the face shield. And we're in those rooms roughly about an hour to 2 to 3 hours at one time, back and forth all day. So just the heat alone will wear you out.
They're now at half capacity with patients, and while it's scary to face the deadly disease on a daily basis, Nurse PCA Kenneth Fowler says they find pride in their work.
Do you feel protected enough when you're next to COVID? Prayer is pretty much the best way, you know? But at the moment, in healthcare, pretty much you don't think about that at first. You think about the patient, you know? So everything when it comes to safety, it's as stupid as it sounds, it's mainly put on the back burner when it comes to the care and the proper care for the patients.
Precautions like having their children live somewhere else and changing their clothes and shoes before leaving the clinic have become a part of everyday life for healthcare professionals. They say it's more about peace of mind than anything else.
It's been a mental struggle being here, because I guess you can say that for the public at large because it's different. But actually being in here, where you know you're surrounded by consistency of a disease that still has no cure, anxiousness and a mental instability is something that we have consistently, yes.
Reporting for our News Weekend, I'm Jillian Gray.
Consultant physician Dr. Loxley Monroe says while he agrees with the decision of healthcare workers to hold a sick out in principle, he doesn't agree professionally.
In principle, if your own human dignity is not being respected, then you have to stand for yourself. And if part of that, if the only thing that your employer can hear is you saying, I'm not coming in, then I guess you have to do that. From a professional standpoint, I mean, being a healthcare provider, that is kind of difficult, I can tell you.
In recent weeks, employees of the Public Hospital Authority staged a sick-out, disrupting services in many departments, including the morgue. Members of the Bahamas Public Service Union took issue with the honorarium payments promised by the former government. Dr. Monroe says he has served as the president of the Consultant Physician Staff Association, and the situation was handled poorly by the former government.
I think that was really, really poor. It was poor on the part of the policymakers and the administrators. Because, and I'm talking to the Bahamian public now, when you hit the hospital, you're not looking for an administrator, you're not looking for a policy maker, you're looking for a doctor. A doctor cannot function by himself.
When our news comes back from the break, former gaming board employee says they're stuck in limbo, and how technology is transforming the courts. The details when our News Weekend returns.
The great True Bahamian Treasure Hunt is here, where you can win great vacation prize packages to hotels throughout the Bahamas. Watch our TV on weeknights between 6 and 11 p.m. for your 10 True Bahamian clues. Take note of your answers and clues. You never know, you might see the same clue twice. Follow our TV originals on Facebook to submit your correct answers before 11 a.m. every Saturday. Watch our news Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. to see if you are the weekly winner. If you didn't win, watch for clues next week because the contest runs all summer long. Go to our TV originals Facebook page for more information and contest details.
You're watching our News Weekend. Welcome back. 24 employees of the gaming board who were terminated 6 months after the Minnis administration took office are appealing to the Prime Minister to do the right thing and reinstate them, per a court order that determined that they were victims of wrongful termination. Our Jillian Gray has that.
It's been 4 years since 47 employees were terminated from the gaming board and nearly a year since a judge ruled that 24 of them were wrongfully terminated and should have been reinstated no later than June 30th, 2020.
How do you do that to permanent and pensionable persons? There are so many rules to abide by for this not to happen. You have general orders, you have the Employment Act, we have the industrial agreement. I mean, how does this just happen and nobody can see that this is wrong? We need to fix this. This should not even have gotten to court.
Marisha Walks, who was the shop steward for the BPSU at the time, slammed the former administration for not honoring the court's ruling. It's been a downhill spiral for some of those workers who struggle to find a new job. Walks says she feels for the employees on Abaco and Grand Bahama who have had to endure both Dorian and the pandemic with no income.
Out of the 24 persons, perhaps no more than 5 of us have jobs, and everyone else they're getting the same thing from employers. Weren't you terminated from the gaming board? And so they don't want to touch the staff.
The staff tried to negotiate a settlement agreement with the former administration, but Walk says they got just more stalling tactics. Those employees were let go 6 months after the FNM came into power, and Walk suggested it could have been politically motivated.
They've destroyed families. They have destroyed families, I can tell you. Kids were hurt, kids who were in private schools, kids who were preparing to go to college. People just got homes, lost their homes. People just got vehicles, wreckers coming to tow your cars away. It was a lot. Some people who were near death. Like I told you, there was a person who had a heart attack. We had a person who had a stroke. It has not been easy.
While some want the settlement, others want their jobs back. And according to Walks, that can happen with the stroke of a pen. She's hoping the new administration rectifies what she calls a gross injustice.
The good thing is there will be no skullduggery. They will simply be following the court's ruling.
Reporting for our News Weekend, I'm Jillian Gray.
The great True Bahamian Treasure Hunt is here, where you can win great vacation prize packages to hotels throughout the Bahamas. Watch our TV on weeknights between 6 and 11 p.m. for your 10 True Bahamian clues. Take note of your answers and clues. You never know, you might see the same clue twice. Follow our TV originals on Facebook to submit your correct answers before 11 a.m. every Saturday. Watch our news Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. to see if you are the weekly winner. If you didn't win, watch for clues next week because the contest runs all summer long. Go to our TV originals Facebook page for more information and contest details.
You're watching our News Weekend. Welcome back. Well, more than 3/4 of non-criminal matters being heard in courts across the country are being done remotely. That's according to Chief Justice Sir Brian Moody, who says that the pandemic has pushed the judiciary to rely more on technology. He says having matters heard online has been one of the biggest achievements to date.
One of the most significant has been the introduction of our remote platform for court hearings. This has been a migration which has allowed us to continue to provide court services even at the height of the pandemic. Prior to March of 2020, we did not have very many remote hearings. In fact, we used to take some evidence remotely when witnesses were out of the country, but there were no remote hearings as such. Today, on the civil side, we are probably hearing as many as 70 to 80% of court hearings remotely, using either Zoom or WebEx.
The Chief Justice says while it has been an impactful tool, it cannot be applied to every court matter.
On the non-criminal side, that is to say civil, commercial, public law, international, family, there are what we call interlocutory applications. These are applications that are made in the life cycle of a case prior to the main trial. So after the case is started until the trial is a stage which is called interlocutory, and there are many applications made in court cases during that period of time. Virtually 100% of those applications are now being heard remotely, virtually. There are some exceptions, but very few. With regard to the family division, those applications often involve highly contentious and sensitive matters. So there's probably a slightly lower percentage of those which are heard remotely. I would say in the family division it's probably around 60%.
When it comes to trials, he says some can also be done remotely.
We are doing somewhere around 70 to 80% of non-criminal trials remotely today. These are trials which involve multiple witnesses. We have protocols in place which govern the conduct of the remote trials, and they have worked fairly well. We've gotten better at them as time has progressed. So really a great deal of the court's work, insofar as court hearings are concerned, which are not on the criminal side, are being heard by remote platforms. As I said, those are civil matters, those are family matters, those are commercial matters, public law and international law matters.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for our News Weekend. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Georgia Bain, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.